5 years ago, last fall, a 16-year-old girl released her debut country music album and dreamed of making it big. Well, today that girl is as big as it gets. She has sold more albums in the U.S. over those 5.5 years than any other artist in any genre.
Taylor Swift hasn't always been the girl people aspired to be. She hasn't always been the girl to write her songs with razor blades. And she hasn't always been the girl to catch the attention of people like John Mayer, Joe Jonas, and Jake Gyllenhaal. But since 2006, she's been just that girl. A letdown is worth a few songs, but heartbreak is worth a few albums, is one of Taylor Swift's famous quotes, a quote she happens to live by. She's not to be messed with, break her heart, and she's not afraid to write a song about you, and even less afraid to put your name in the song. So how exactly did this little girl raised on a Christmas tree farm in Pennsylvania rise to fame? Taylor Allison Swift was born December 13, 1989 in rural Pennsylvania to Andrea Swift and Scott Swift. She is the older of two children with a younger brother, Austin. According to a source at contactmusic.com, when Taylor Swift was only 10 years old, she began writing her own music. She also began performing locally in her small town at karaoke contests, festivals, and fairs. At only 11 years old, she went to Music Row in Tennessee and began to hand out her own demo tape. After facing lots of rejection, she returned back to Pennsylvania and then was surprisingly invited to sing the national anthem at the U.S. Open. Her family decided in order for Taylor to make it big, they would move to Nashville in hopes to kick off her career. She performed at a Bluebird Cafe a few times, but one night in particular caught the eye of the owner of the music label Big Machine Records, Scott Borchetta. Once meeting and signing with him, her career took off. In Taylor Swift's Journey to Fearless DVD, I learned the following information. In 2006, Taylor Swift released her debut album, and surprisingly, for no one having ever heard of her or the music label, the album released at number 19 in the Billboard 200 album chart. In the first week of release, 60,000 copies were sold, and eventually it topped the Billboard's country album chart, and since its release, 3 million copies have been sold. Success has followed Swift. Since her second song was released on her debut album, it reached number 2 in the Billboard country chart. Her third single spent 6 weeks at number 1 on the country charts, and in late 2008, she released her second album, Fearless, and it released at number 1 on the Billboard 200 album chart. Her third album, Speak Now, sold 1,047,000 copies, and only in the first week alone, which has made it the fastest-selling album in 5 years. Of course, it's a big deal to sell 1 million records in 1 week, but it's an even bigger deal since this has only happened 16 times since 1991. To say Taylor Swift has won a few awards would be the understatement of the century. In a biography by Kayleen Russer, there's an overwhelmingly long list of awards won by Taylor. All of her nominations and wins total up to 162 nominations and 107 wins. At 22 years old, Taylor Swift has done and is doing quite nicely for herself. Most people today have poor judgment when it comes to choosing a role model. Some choose Charlie Sheen, someone who was let go from a TV show because of his bizarre behavior due to drugs. Some choose Britney Spears, who can't seem to get a firm grasp of reality or stability. But it's Taylor Swift who's a fine role model for everyone. She doesn't go out and get drunk or do drugs, and she's maintained her good girl image. She hasn't let fame and fortune and her success go to her head. From the girl who started singing in karaoke contests at her town's local fair, to being the opening act for Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, to the girl whose albums have sold millions of copies within their first week of release, Taylor Swift has gone from small-town girl to one of music's biggest names. Needless to say, Taylor Swift does really well when it comes to the sale of her albums. It's not surprising or much of a challenge though, since most of her songs are songs most, if not everyone, can relate to. Only being 22 and having won 107 awards and having been nominated 162 times and showing no signs of slowing down or retirement anytime soon, it looks like Taylor Swift has a long road of success in her future.